Good morning. We're here at the Surfside Kolel Boker, and we are adding to our daily study the Mishnayot. We're going to be doing some of them from Rabbi Pinchas Kehati. I'm specifically using the English Hebrew Pinchas Kehati. It's right here. Take a look at it. It's an easy book, English Hebrew Mishnayot. We're going to be doing one Mishnah a day, simple, easy Mishnah Othiot Neshama. So let's begin. Berachot, chapter 1, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Me'ematai korin et Shema be'arvit. We'll read it in Lashon HaKodesh, and then we'll read it in English along with some of the notes. It's unbelievable how well this was put together. And so Bezat Hashem will be Matzliach. Me'ematai korin et Shema be'arvit. משעה שכהנים נכנסים לאכול בתפילתן עד סוף השנה הראשונה, דברי רבי אליעזר, וחכמים אומרים עד חצות. רבן גמליאל אומר עד שיעלה עמוד השחר, מעשה שבאו בניו מבית המשתה, אמרו לו לא קראנו את שמה, אמר להם אם לא עלה עמוד השחר חייבים אתם לקרות, ולא זו בלבד, אלא כל מה שאמרו חכמים עד חצות מצוותן עד שיעלה עמוד השחר, הקטר חלבים באיברים מצוותן עד שיעלה עמוד השחר, וכל הנאכלים ליום אחד מצוותן עד שיעלה עמוד השחר. אם כן, למה אמרו חכמים עד חצות? כדי להרחיק את האדם מן העבירה. Okay, let's read in English. From when does one recite Shema in the evening? From the time the Kohanim enter to eat of their terumah until the end of the first watch. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer, but the sages say until midnight. Rabban Gamliel says until the pillar of dawn comes up. It happened that his sons came from a feasting house. They said to him, we did not read the Shema. He said to them, if the pillar of dawn has not come up, you are still obligated to read. And not this alone, but wheresoever the sages stipulated until midnight, the mitzvah still obtains until the pillar of dawn, until alot. The burning of the fats and limbs may be performed until the pillar of dawn comes up. And all the offerings that are to be eaten in one day, the period of performing the mitzvah lasts until dawn. If so, why did the sages stipulate till midnight? To keep one far away from transgressions. So even though the person had more time to do the mitzvot, they told him to finish it earlier in order to protect themselves. That is the English. Now we're going to read the Kehati. And you shall speak of them when at home, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you raise up. That's in Devarim 6-7. This verse, which appears in the paragraph beginning with Shema Yisrael, is the source, as the sages of the Talmud point out, of the obligation of reading the Shema twice daily when you lie down at night and when you rise up in the morning. The reading consists of 3 sections of the Torah. Shema Yisrael, Hear O Israel, that's in Devarim 6:4-9. And it shall come to pass, that's in Perek 11, and then Pasuk 13-21, which also includes to speak of them when at home, when you lie down and when you rise up. And 3, the paragraph dealing with tzitzit, which is in Bamidbar, that's Tetvav 37-41, the Pesukim. The last section was incorporated in the Shema because of its reference to the Exodus. And also because there too it is stated that you remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your God, which supplements the exhortation in the 2nd paragraph. And it shall come to pass, and if you will hearken diligently to my commandments. The first 3 chapters of this tractate in Berachot deal with the laws pertaining to the reading of the Shema, with the opening Mishnah discussing the time factor in reference to reading the Shema at night. That the Tana, the author of this Mishnah, did not state at the very outset that such an obligation actually exists, that it is mandatory to read the Shema, is explained by the Gemara. The Tana relied upon the fact that this obligation is explicitly ordained in the Torah, and you shall speak of them when you lie down and when you rise up, as mentioned above. Hence, the first Mishnah begins with the problem of determining exactly the period when one lies down, and the 2nd Mishnah with determining the period of rising from sleep. Now, since the scripture has placed when you lie down before when you rise up, mentioning the nighttime before the morning, the Tanakh follows suit and commences with the discussion of the Shema of the nighttime and defers the discussion of the morning obligation to the 2nd Mishnah. Another reason for giving priority to the nighttime obligation is mentioned in the Gemara. The creation chapter has, and there was evening and there was morning. First evening and afterwards morning. Hence, our Mishnah too adopts the same order where first it discusses the evening and then the morning. Let's go now to the Kehati. It lists here with the specific milim of the Mishnah along with explanation. Me'ematai. From when does one recite Shema in the evening? At precisely which moment does the obligation of reciting the Shema at night begin? Misha'a. From the time when the Kohanim enter to eat of their terumah. Kohanim receive a share of each year's agricultural produce called terumah. It is considered sanctified and may only be eaten by Kohanim when they are ritually clean. A Kohen who becomes defiled through leprosy or by having touched an object conveying defilement, as an example, a dead reptile, may not eat terumah, as it is written in Vayikra 22-4, and from sanctified food he shall not eat until the time when he shall become pure. Hence, a ritually defiled Kohen may not eat terumah until he becomes purified first by immersion in a mikveh, a ritual pool, and secondly by the onset of night. So it's two things. He's got to dip in the mikveh and then he's got to wait till nightfall. As long as the sun is still visible, he is still unfit to eat terumah, even though he has immersed himself in a mikveh. This qualification is derived from the verse, and when the sun is set, shall be clean, and afterwards he may eat of the holy things. Vayikra 2-7. According to the Gemara, the words "and be clean" do not refer to the Kohen, as the plain sense of the passage would seem to indicate, but to the clearing of all traces of the sun from the sky. So he says on the word in the translation on "be clean" is not talking about the Kohen, but rather the sky, the sun from the sky. Until the term usage of the term purification or clearing with reference to the end of the day found its way into the vernacular of the inhabitants of Eretz Israel. As we find the term adaki yoma, the day became pure, used idiomatically from the onset of the night, when the sun has set and the stars appear. The Rambam in Laws of Terumah 1-2 rules in similar vein. Kohanim who are ritually impure may not eat terumah until the sun has set for them and 3 stars become visible in the sky, as it is written, and when the sun is set, and the sky shall be clean, and afterwards he may eat of holy things. This is then what the Mishnah conveys from the time when the Kohanim enter to eat of their terumah. The Kohanim whose task it was to serve in the holy temple, in the Beit HaMikdash, to disseminate knowledge of Torah among the people, and to set an example by their punctilious and diligent observation and observance, revert to their pure state upon the appearance of the stars at night. That very moment also marks the beginning of the obligation to recite the Shema. The Gemara explains that the Mishnah chooses the expression, the time when the Kohanim enter to eat of their terumah, rather than the appearance of the stars. Interesting. The Gemara, when it refers in the Mishnah to that, the Kohanim, it refers on the time the Kohanim eat the terumah, not the appearance of the stars, as the time factor for reciting the Shema, in order to teach us by implication that even a Kohen whose purification rites require at their conclusion the offering of a sacrifice, as is in the case of one who suffered a flux or a leper, may nevertheless eat terumah once he has immersed himself and night has fallen. The proof is explicitly stated in the verse, and when the sun is set, and it shall be clean, and afterwards he may eat of the holy things. The state of purity in terms of terumah is conditional upon nightfall and not on the bringing of a sacrifice. Interesting. Others offer a different explanation. The Mishnah stipulates that the eating of terumah as the beginning of night, because the only direct reference in the Torah to sunset is in the connection with terumah. And when the sun is set, he may eat of the holy things. Shenot Eliyahu. A further explanation is that since the first mitzvah of the day is the recital of the Shema, the Jewish day commences at nightfall, and terumah is also referred to as the first of the fruits. The first fruits of your corn, of your wine, shall you give him. Therefore, and that's in Devarim 18-4, therefore the Mishnah chose to relate the Shema to terumah. So it's referring the Shema to terumah because of the reference to the sunset in both of them. Okay. It is also possible to ascribe the Tana's motive in referencing the terumah as being to urge people, by way of analogy, to recite the Shema with enthusiasm and anticipation. For when the Kohen eats terumah, he fulfills one of the commandments of the Torah, as is evidenced by the fact that he's obligated and obliged to recite a special beracha over it. Baruch, who has sanctified us with the sanctity of Aharon, who has commanded us to eat of the terumah. It's similar to the beracha Birkat Kohanim, asher kiddushanu b'kedushato shel Aharon. And then over there it says v'tzivanu levarech et hamotzei ba'ava. Here it says v'tzivanu le'achol terumah. Okay, that's the Rambam, the laws of terumah 15-22. Obviously, a kohen who, after becoming ritually impure, has performed his ablutions, but is not permitted to eat terumah, looks forward with anticipation to the setting of the sun and the beginning of the new day when he will revert to the state of ritual purity. We may therefore conclude that in order to give expression to the change in his physical and spiritual state, the Kohen will take advantage of the very first opportunity to eat his terumah and not delay the fulfillment of the mitzvah, even for an instant. This apparently is the significance of the term enter, to eat their terumah. They revert to their pure state for the purpose of eating their terumah, as we have explained above. Hence, Hazal have stated that from the time when the Kohanim enter to eat of their terumah marks the beginning of the period when Shema is to be read. Hence, just as the Kohanim arouse themselves with alacrity to eat their terumah, so is it incumbent upon every Jew energetically to rouse himself to perform the mitzvah of reading the Shema, meaning wake up early in the morning with gusto and with energy, and thereby to accept upon himself the yoke of the kingdom of heaven and the yoke of the mitzvot. The Mishnah now turns its attention to the question of until when may Shema be recited. Ad sof, until the end of the first watch, until the end of the first third of the night, since the night is divided into 3 watches, as the Gemara tells us. Divrei. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer, based on his interpretation of the expression, and when you lie down, uvshoch, meaning the period when most people go to retire for the night. And indeed, most people do retire in the first third of the night. The Gemara explains that there were signs by which the division of the night into 3 could be discerned. Hence, the Mishnah simply states until the end of the first watch. When his name is mentioned without any further qualification, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkanos is meant. Okay, that's in Ethics of the Fathers 2-8. Let's be careful. But the sages say that Shema may be recited until midnight. That's not the midnight here is not 12 a.m. This is not like it is in the society of American society, but midnight is the center point when you divide all the daytime hours. Let's say you take from the morning to the evening, you take how many hours they are, or it really should be done by minutes first. So really you would take all the minutes of the day that's daytime and divide that by 60. Then you'll have the hours, and then you divide that by 12, and then you get how many minutes are in the Sha'az Manit, and then you will have it. You'll have the time. But the sages say that Shema may be recited until midnight. Okay, Rabban Gamliel says until the pillar of dawn comes up all night. His opinion being based on his interpretation of the same expression, when you lie down. When people are lying down, which would include all night. Various definitions have been applied to the concept of Alot HaShachar. Rabbi Avraham Eliyahu Kaplan offers a lucid and detailed explanation. The initial rays of light in the east, known as Ayelet HaShachar, the morning dawn. Ayelet HaShachar is also referring to, that's the Mizmor for Purim. The morning dawn, expand and lengthen for about an hour until they seem to resemble a pillar of light. This pillar is called the pillar of dawn, Amud HaShachar, and appears about an hour before the actual rising of the sun, HaNetzach Hama. We also find the expression, the face of the east is a light, in reference to the onset of dawn. But there are divergent opinions among the sages as to its precise meaning. Some claim that it refers to the pillar of light. Others interpret to mean Hanetz HaChama, the first sparklings of the rising sun. Others again explain it to refer to the interval between dawn and sunrise. Ma'aseh, it happened that his, Rabban Gamliel's sons came from a feasting house, a wedding feast after midnight. Amru lo, they said to him, to Rabban Gamliel, we did not read Shema. Having been preoccupied, they had forgotten. Amar lahem, he said to them, if the pillar of dawn has not come up, you are still obliged to read. The Gemara explains that his son's dilemma. Do the majority of the sages agree in principle with Rabbi Eliezer that when you lie down refers to the time when most people go to retire for the night, and in their opinion, the period extends till but not beyond midnight? In this case, then, the time limit for reciting the Shema had passed, and whoever had not yet read the Shema could no longer fulfill his obligation. And the view of the sages is the accepted ruling, since it is always the majority view that is normative. Or else, perhaps the sages too would explain that when you lie down, as referring to the entire period of lying down, and only limited its extent in order to spur the individual to perform the mitzvah in its proper time. Rabban Gamliel, accordingly, informed his sons that the sages agree with him in the interpretation of the term, and when you lie down. Hence, if the pillar of dawn had not yet risen, the obligation to read the Shema had not yet expired. Beloso bilvad, and not this alone, Rabban Gamliel added that not only in respect of the duration of the period for reading the Shema did the sages concur with him, even though they stipulated until midnight, ella, but wheresoever the sages stipulated until midnight, the mitzvah still obtained until the pillar of dawn. In all cases where the sages apparently limited the time until midnight, the obligation remains in force till dawn. Hakter, the burning of fats and limbs of the sacrifices may be performed until the pillar of dawn comes up. If the blood of any particular sacrifice had been sprinkled on the altar on any particular day, then the fats and limbs were to be placed on the altar on the very same day and during the ensuing night until dawn. Of the various sacrifices, the olah, the burnt offering, was entirely consumed on the altar. As for the rest, the portions to be burnt are specified in Leviticus in Vayikra 7-15. Fats and limbs not placed on the altar within the allotted time become disqualified by virtue of having been left overnight. Since the scripture ordains in Shemot 34-25, neither shall the feastal Passover sacrifice be left until the morning. And the halakhic procedure for all other sacrifices is derived from this verse, Bechol hane'echadim, and all the offerings that are to be eaten in one day. In respect of all the offerings that are to be eaten on the day of their slaughter and the following night, such as thanksgiving offerings, sin offerings, and guilt offerings, mitzvatan, the period of performing their mitzvah, to eat them last ad sheyaleh, until dawn. The source for this regulation is the verse concerning the thanksgiving offering in Vayikra 7-15. He shall not leave anything of it till morning, which is extended to apply to all other sacrifices as well. Imken, if so, that every mitzvah set for the night may be performed at any time during the entire night. Lama, why? Why did the sages stipulate till midnight in respect of reading the Shema in our Mishnah and eating of the sacrifices in the Mishnah Zevachim chapter 5? In regards to the burning of the fats and limbs on the altar, the sages did not, however, specify any limitation. This case was only cited in our Mishnah to demonstrate that for night mitzvot, the entire night is suitable. This opinion is voiced both by Rashi and by Rabbi Ovadia bar Tenura. Rambam, on the other hand, rules that burning the fats and limbs is only permissible till midnight. The commentators are at pains to find the source for his decision. Interesting. Tzit Tosfot Yom Tov. The Vilna Gaon, Shenot Eliyahu, and Rabbi Shlomo Ha'adani in Melechet Shlomo claim that the Rambam based his ruling on the Mishnah in Zevachim 9-6. Nevertheless, why did the sages stipulate till midnight? The Harchik, to keep one far away from transgressions, to spur the individual to perform the mitzvah with alacrity and not postpone it till the last minute, lest he forget and not perform it altogether, or else perform it after the expiration of its time. And in the case of eating sacrificial animals, become liable to the penalty of excision, karet. In discussing this Mishnah, the Gemara quotes the following Braita. The sages erected a fence around their words by limiting the recital of the Shema till midnight, to prevent someone returning from the field in the evening from saying to himself, I shall go home, eat a little, drink a little, take a short nap, and afterwards recite the Shema and the evening tefillah. Then he would doze off and sleep the whole night through. Instead, when someone comes back from the field in the evening, he shall go to the synagogue, if he's used to reading the scripture, he should read the scripture, studying Mishnah. He should study Mishnah and then recite the Shema and Tefillah, eat his food and recite the grace after meals. That's in Berachot 4b. So this is the first Mishnah, really interesting, discussing all the details of Kohanim, of Terumot, of Korbanot and the times. And this is Berachot, chapter 1, Mishnah 1. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen.